Hi, everyone. Welcome. I think people are starting to filter in. Go ahead and drop in the chat where you're joining us from today, and we'll get started in just a few minutes once we give people a couple minutes to start joining. Got folks from Canada, the Netherlands, California. I see a couple from Ohio, my home state, Northern California, Ireland. Got folks from all over the world joining today. This is so exciting. And we're really excited to talk to you guys about all things Venice. We've got a great conversation in store. All right, we'll give everyone just about another minute to start joining. Chicago, Illinois, Savannah, Virginia. Wow, got all corners of the world covered today. So for those of you who have not joined us here today before, welcome to our Venice travel planning webinar by Walks and Devour. My name is Lindsay. I'm the community manager for Walks and Devour, and we have two local experts who are based in Venice, Gillian and Cecilia, who will be joining us today. And so they have all the answers to your burning questions about Venice, from where to stay, what to eat, how long should you stay in Venice, all of your most urgent questions we're going to be answering today. And of course, if you have any other questions that come up throughout the discussion, you can go ahead and drop those in the chat. We've got some team members also monitoring the chat, so we can keep an eye out for those questions that come to mind throughout the event as well. And so we'll get started in just a minute. But first of all, as people are just starting to join, I wanted to start by asking everyone a quick question. When are you going to Venice? So I'm going to start by launching this poll. And you can go ahead and answer the poll. So when is your trip to Venice? All right. So we've got some people, spring 2025, quite a few, right around the corner. We've got a lot of folks planning for summer. Some of you don't have a trip planned yet, and that is okay. You are gonna get lots of inspiration, I hope, today. And so whenever you do plan your trip, you'll have all the information you need. And we've got some folks also traveling a little further out, September through the end of the year. So it's never too early to start planning, especially when you've got a trip to such a great destination like Venice. All right, go ahead and answer if you haven't already. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just get started by introducing who are Walks and Devour. So for those of you who haven't heard of us today, Walks Tours is one of the leading tour operators throughout Europe and North America. We started 15 years ago in Italy, and we are now running tours in more than 20 destinations worldwide throughout Europe and North America. So we pride ourselves on offering the best walking and attraction tours in the business, the most important sites that you can't leave a city without visiting. So in Venice, for example, we've got exclusive access to St. Mark's Basilica. We have a tour that runs in the evenings, and the basilica is open just for our groups, and you get to go in and see the mosaics all lit up at night and have the space entirely to yourself, which is just really once in a lifetime and unforgettable. We also offer walking tours of the city that include, gondola rides and visits to, St. Mark's Basilica and the Doge's Palace during the day. So a little bit of something for everyone. And then Walks' sister brand is Devour Tours. As you might imagine from the name, this is our food tour brand. So we started in Madrid in 2012, but we now operate in, I think, 5 cities throughout Italy, including Venice. And Devour is all about connecting people to local cuisine through food. So that goes beyond just tasting the dishes and, checking things off your list that you tried, but really diving into the cultural connections as well. And, meeting the people who actually make these dishes happen and connecting with the local community in that way. So we have 2 food tours in Venice, one in the morning when we go to the Rialto market and taste our way around the city, from, cafes to the market to some restaurants. And then we also have an evening wine and Cicchetti focus tour in the evening that's more focused on, just having a fun night out in Venice in the local style. So there's a little something for everyone there as well. And if you stick around till the end of the experience today, I do have a special gift for you, a discount code valid on any Venice Walks or Devour tours. So be sure to stick around to get your exclusive discount code. All right, so it's time to bring our team on stage. So first of all, I'm going to start by welcoming our first guest, Cecilia Cambero. Cecilia has been working in Venice's tourism industry for 15 years. She specializes in guiding and curating unique experiences in the city. She is our ground operations manager for Venice here at Walks and Devour, so she knows all of our tours inside and out. And she also is just one of the best people to talk about Venice because of her deep passion for Venice's history, culture, hidden gems, and she has one of the most unique perspectives of the city of anyone you'll meet. So I'm very excited to welcome Cecilia today. I'm going to bring her on stage. Oh. Hi, Cecilia.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lizzie.
Welcome. So excited to have you here. Cecilia, so the question I'm going to ask both you and Gillian as a little icebreaker, what is the very first thing that people should do when they get to Venice?
Well, first of all, make sure that they arrive to their accommodation. We know how tricky it can get. And secondly, I will say once they did the check-in and they're ready to rock, start exploring. So I will say first hit the main highlights of the city. So make sure that you go towards San Mark's Square and Rialto Bridge, the highlights. And then from there, just start getting lost if you don't have anything booked for the day. Getting lost is the way to explore the city. So it's also a nice way to get away from the phone and just be aware of the surroundings. So yeah, I would say start getting lost and enjoy the beauty of our city.
It's a great answer. Venice is really just one of those cities that you can get lost in and just, yes, see St. Mark's, see the Rialto Bridge, but really just there's something beautiful around every corner. So
exactly.
All right. Thank you, Cecilia. And I'm going to welcome our second guest, Gillian McGuire. She's lived in Italy for many years, was based in Rome for a long time, and now she calls Venice home. Gillian is a writer, information curator, traveler, coffee and cocktail drinker, and her friends call her the source because she is your go-to girl for all the information on anything you could possibly want to know about Venice, Capri, Ponza, and of course, Venice. So welcome, Gillian.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Great to have you here today, Gillian. So I'm going to ask you the same question just as a little way to kick things off. What do you think is the number one thing, the very first thing people should do when they get to Venice?
So I'm going to go even a little further back. So I think I really like arriving to Venice by train. So if you're arriving by train, just when you come out of the train station, just, take a minute and look at where you are because it's magical. You've got the San Simeon Church in front of you. You're on the Grand Canal. Just, from the minute you arrive, it's amazing. If you are flying into Venice, my tip is sit on the right side of the plane. And then if it's not the middle of the night, then you get an incredible view of the entire lagoon as you're flying in.
That's a great tip. Love that tip to get on the right side of the plane so people can get those amazing views right away. And then, yeah, I think Venice has one of the most perfect, when you walk out of the train station situations, and
It's just
it's
amazing.
incredible. Yeah, you're just, right away, like, wow, I'm here. So that's just such an incredible experience to have. All right. Thank you both again. We're so excited to have you here. And to kick things off, I wanted to ask we have people visiting at all different times of year, but we also have several people who answered in our poll that they're not actively planning a trip to Venice just yet. They're just here for, travel inspo, or maybe it's one of their dream destinations to visit in the future. Well, to kick things off, Cecilia, I'll start with you. What do you think is the best time of year to visit Venice, in your opinion?
I will say spring or autumn. The end of September, which when the weather is still great and is slowly getting quiet. That I will say is the best time of the year, and otherwise choose a spring, like now, after in between Easter and June, when the European kids have their school holidays. These are the best time of the year to travel to Venice. So springtime or towards autumn, these are the two main recommendations. Then, of course, any time of the year, like if you come into winter, the weather is not going to be the sunniest, but still it has the magic, especially in those days where we have a lot of mist. So it's almost like walking into a film in the misty Venice. And of course, the quietness that you get during those months. But I will recommend springtime or autumn as the main ones. In summer, if you arrive, you're more than welcome, but expect it to be really hot. And of course, being in the lagoon, there is lots of mosquitoes, something that many people don't think about, but we do have them, so be prepared.
That is a great tip. And yeah, I know Venice is definitely high season, but maybe people aren't expecting there to be mosquitoes in such a beautiful city, but it does happen. Gillian, what do you think? What is your favorite time of year to visit Venice if you had to choose?
So my favorite time of year has always been the winter. It's not for every traveler. It's because you have to be a little creative sometimes with the weather and with things being closed, but I feel like it's when the city is at its most magical. You get the fog, you get the quiet, you don't have to fight crowds unless you're there during Carnival. So for me, I love November to January.
Yeah, my first time visiting Venice personally was in early November, and it was just, to Cecilia's point, just completely magical walking out in the morning and seeing all the fog, and as it lifted throughout the day, you get to see the city in its full color. And so I really enjoyed visiting Venice in the late fall, early winter. But yeah, summer I think would be quite a different experience as well, but also it's probably charming at any time of year, I would say.
What's good about summer is then you can explore the lagoon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can go out and see more of, not the city part of Venice, but the lagoon part of Venice.
Yeah. Getting out on the water is probably much more pleasant at that time of year.
One of the things to have in mind for winter is if you come after the Christmas holidays, be prepared that many places in the city, they close down, as is the holiday time for the locals. So it's normally for those who work in the tourism industry, is the time of the year where they actually go on holidays. So also many venues and many shops, etc., they get the most out of this quiet time to renovate the places and so on. So you will expect to have many places that they are closed. The main venues and the main sites to visit, they will be open, but restaurants and shops, they may be closed during the after the Christmas period, in between the Christmas periods and Carnival, Mardi Gras. That is always depending on the year, you have different dates. But in between those two dates, expect the city that so many perhaps restaurants that they were on your list, they will be closed.
Yeah, it's good to know. You'd hate to get to, your dream trip to Venice and you get there and everything is closed. So good to keep in mind for anybody planning maybe a January trip. Gillian, I'll start with you for this one. How long would you recommend a first-time visitor spend in Venice and why?
As long as you possibly can. I feel like Venice is one of those cities people don't spend enough time in. They think, it's normally, it's not the primary destination. So they think, oh, I'll just spend a day and then, then we'll go on kind of with the rest of our trip. So I would, at the bare minimum, 3 days. There's just so much to see. There's so much to explore that anything less I feel like you sometimes just get frustrated and then you only see San Marco and Rialto and you haven't really seen the rest of the city.
Yeah, absolutely. I see someone in the chat mentioning Murano. I mean, 3 days, that gives you time to get out and see the lagoon as well, getting out of the city center. So yeah, I think that sounds like the perfect amount of time for even just scratching the surface. Cecilia, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say minimum 2 nights. If you wanna like if you are in a rush and you are visiting a few places around Italy and you have short time, I would say at least give the chance to stay 2 nights. So you have almost 3 full days in the city. So you can explore perhaps on the first day the main highlights such as Basilica of St. Mark's and Rialto Bridge and all the hot spots of the city. And then the second day you could get to one of the Vaporetto, as the Vaporetto boats are the public transports that take you all over the lagoon, including the islands of Murano and Burano. And obviously you will spend almost a full day in between those two. And then I will say the rest of your stay to just get lost around, or perhaps just check the events going on in the city so you can experience them in the first place. Because not only we have Carnival or Mardi Gras, but there are lots of things going on during the year, especially around arts, music, and so on. So yeah, we will give you some places there for you guys to check before coming over.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something going on in Venice. I was just seeing, a few weeks ago, all this beautiful content coming out from Carnival, and I know the Biennale was also a big deal. I think that's later in the year as well. So yeah, there's just so much to do and see. There's someone in the chat saying that they're coming for 2 weeks, which is incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. After the hot spots, what? So we could just make this one quick, but what would be one of the more off the beaten path or hidden gems that you would suggest for someone on a longer stay? Gillian, I'll start with you.
Go to the first in Venice to further corners. Go, out towards the Arsenale, and there's a church, San Fresco nella Vigna, and that's on the edge of the city. Go the other direction into the deep into Cannaregio and explore the edges.
Love Cannaregio, one of my personal favorite parts of Venice. Cecilia, what do you think for someone who's staying longer? What would you recommend they do after they check off all the major hotspots?
So the major hotspots, they are all around St. Mark's Square. So therefore, there you have St. Mark's Basilica, Doge's Palace, and then Rialto Bridge, which is literally 10 minutes away walking from there. Once you visit them, that it takes a bit. It's not just checking them and that's it. There is loads of history on them, so it takes at least 1 hour for the Basilica and almost 2 hours for the palace. So, make sure that you know that. And once you reach there are like interesting neighborhoods like Gillian just mentioned, like Castello, where you have the Arsenal, the old boatyard of the city. You have the oldest cathedral, which is San Pietro di Castello there, and really like interesting points around the neighborhood, like San Francesco de la Vigna, which Gillian just mentioned, one that is still a convent nowadays, and also is open every so often during the year for certain events. Then Cannaregio, of course, where you can find the Jewish area. We also have Madonna dell'Orto, Campo dei Mori, like really interesting spots. In this neighborhood, in Cannaregio neighborhood, is also the place where we all go for aperitivo. So loads of like nice spots there for food. We have Torso Duro neighborhood too, which has amazing places such as Frari Church or San Rocco School, which is one of the most beautiful places, in my personal opinion, in the city that you need to check there. Also, we have the area of Zattere, which is one of the nicest spots to see the sunset. So, the city is way more than St. Mark's Square, and there is loads of places to explore. Like I was mentioning before, just make sure that you get lost around. And there is nothing that you need to worry in Venice apart from pickpockets, that unfortunately, as many other European cities, we have them. And these ones are mainly in the touristy areas. Therefore, around St. Mark's Square area, there is nothing that you need to worry about, but just to be aware of your belongings. But apart from that, nothing else can happen to you. So enjoy one of the safest cities in Europe, and just wander around, like literally wander around. Obviously, if you have a few days, visit the islands of Murano and Burano, but also you have Torcello there, which is really natural, like still right in the middle of the lagoon, and historically is one of the most important for us, as it has the oldest cathedral in the lagoon. It's one of the first places that it was inhabited when before the Venice was built. So it's lots of things there. Plus, obviously, if you come in summer, we have Lido. Lido is our beach island where we go for for a day in the sea. And also that is the island where you can see the cinema festival that we have in September, the International Film Festival that we have every September. So there you can get a bike and you just, a day around the sea where you can stop perhaps for like a lunch with lovely views of the Adriatic Sea. So, and we have other small islands like Orchard Islands, such as Sant'Erasmo, where part of our main veggies and food come from. And there you can also hire some bikes and go around the island. There are really loads of things, apart from obviously day trips that you can take from Venice.
Yeah, that brings up another interesting point. We have some chatter going in the chat about going out to Prosecco country, other wine regions in the Veneto region. So just on the topic of day trips, since I'm seeing some conversation about it, Gillian, I'll start with you. What are your favorite day trips to take outside of Venice?
So it's hard to get me to leave Venice. I almost never go on the mainland, but you can. It's quite easy to go to Verona, or you can go to Bassano del Grappa, which is also super charming. Padua is very close. I haven't gone to Padua since in many years. And if you can hire a driver and go into the Prosecco Hills. That's, everyone's wild about Prosecco these days. You can go and see where it's grown. That's right outside of town. I'm much more likely to tell people, as Cicchetti was just saying, go to the islands.
Yeah, there's so much to see even just within the lagoon. And yeah, Cecilia, I know you just gave a ton of great suggestions, but is there anything else that you would want to mention in terms of day trips that you would recommend?
Definitely. The first one that I will recommend, it will be Treviso. So if you don't have a car, or if you don't want to rent a car to go to the Prosecco Hills, which are actually Valdobbiadene and Conegliano. Conegliano can be reached by train. Is about almost an hour, less than an hour, about 40 minutes maximum. And we have regional trains from Venice that reach Conegliano, which is the main is the small town, which by the way is extremely beautiful, right in the starting point of the Prosecco wine region. Okay, so if you don't want to get a car there, because once you arrive to Conegliano, obviously you need a car to reach the different wineries, I will say go to Treviso. Treviso is a city that is 30 minutes by train from Venice. Also, you have several trains every hour, even like every 30 minutes during weekdays. Treviso is a really charming city. It's really beautiful. Also has canals on it, and is well known for the Prosecco, but also for the tiramisu. So for those foodies out there, that's should be in your list. Then I will say Vicenza. If you are into history, Vicenza should be there, especially if you are into architecture. Vicenza was the home of Palladio, and well, it's highly recommended. Other places, if you have more time, you're willing to be overnight near Venice and you want to explore nature, the Dolomites are the way. There you need to hire a car, and you can reach the Dolomites easily from Venice in about 2 hours maximum. And I strongly recommend you to stay overnight and experience, some trekking, some beautiful countryside, stunning mountains, good food, and also beautiful villages in the mountains. These are some of the places, but then if you want to go a little bit farther, you can always reach Bologna with one of the fast trains in about 1 hour and a half. And, Bologna, Emilia-Romagna, another region, but extremely good for food. So for foodies out there, Bologna, it could be a day trip from here. And Lindsay, as you know, we also have our tours in Bologna, so they can experience the Devour food tours there too. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There's, so much to see only, not only within the Veneto region, but also just a hop, skip, and a jump away. So we'll definitely come back to food and wine and all things Cicchetti and whatnot. But while we're on the topic of transport, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to get around the city. We had a lot of questions coming in about how do I navigate, should I walk? Should I take public transport? How does that work? Certainly a question that I had myself the first time I came to Venice, seeing as the city famously has no roads, no cars. So I think that's something that people, as excited as you might be for your trip to Venice, it can be a little off-putting is, just how do you get around this city that doesn't have streets? So Gillian, I'll start with you. What are your top tips for navigating Venice?
Walk. Best way to see everything. You can take the Vaporetto. It's not going to be any faster than walking almost every time. So be prepared. I feel like Venice is best experienced when by foot. Another important, there's two kind of important things when you're walking around Venice. Make sure that we don't have streets, but we do have kind of road rules, so that when you're walking everywhere, that you stick to the right, just as you would when you're driving not in the UK. And don't stop suddenly. That, because you're so wowed by the wonder that you want to take a picture. And our bridges are also our streets, and they're not places to sit down and have a picnic. So those are my two kind of walking things that are strange about the place that we live. The Vaporetto does take you all kinds of places. It's my husband's favorite thing to do, is to take the boat. And if you take the number 1, it will take you on this kind of long, slow ride all up and down the Grand Canal, which is, you get tired walking. It's exhausting walking. That's another, nice thing to do is get on the Vaporetto. Remember that it's our public bus, so find a seat and enjoy yourself and just look at the palaces as you kind of float along. So my main recommendation is bring your most comfortable shoes and walk everywhere.
Yeah, and that's great advice too about just keeping in mind that you are, yes, there's so many beautiful things to see, but you are also in someone's hometown, and we want to be mindful, of course, of not getting in the way of the locals while they're trying to go about their daily life. So just keeping that in mind as you're.
If you see someone with hauling a cart behind them, let them go.
Yeah, very good advice. Cecilia, anything you would add to that? How do you like to get around the city? And is there anything else that you would want first-time visitors especially to know?
So, first of all, like Gillian mentioned, it's all about walking. I recommend then also to take the Vaporetto, just to be aware of the locals, please, when they do that, and to avoid it in peak hours. But yeah, Vaporetto line number 1, for example, is really slow.
It is
Actually,
very slow.
as residents, we tend to avoid it as it stops everywhere along the Grand Canal. But if they have time, perhaps they need to reach St. Mark's Square and they are staying somewhere a bit far outside, I will recommend them to take that one. Take their time, but they have beautiful views from the local transport at the end. But yeah, as another way for them to run the city, that is also an experience, is obviously by Traghetto. Traghetto is the public gondola service that we have to cross over the Grand Canal. There are only 4 bridges to cross the Grand Canal, and it's the canal that split the city literally in 2. It's a big S shape over there. And the Traghetto costs €2, and it literally passes you from one side to the other. This is really handy when you're in a rush and you need to reach the other side. Same thing, you guys are on holidays, so we kindly ask you to respect the locals that may need to rush to work. So as you all know, we are all busy, we have all busy lives, no matter where we live. So just let people pass and then you just take it afterwards. And lastly, there were a few questions about airport, like how to reach the city from the airport. I don't know if you want me to answer those ones now that we are talking about transport.
Yeah,
look, first of all, the Vaporetto boat is public transport. The lines work during the entire day, and then, as any other city, at night time, we have lines like less frequent, but still we have them because we need to reach home too. So the Vaporetto lines work all day long, and with them they can reach not only travel around Venice, but also reach the islands like we mentioned before. I saw in the chat some people, some of our guides are here in the call, which I'm happy to see, and they were already telling people the best way to grab the Vaporetto pass. We recommend to get at least the 24 hours or 2 days pass, and is unlimited. Therefore, they have unlimited travel in the Vaporetto around the city and around the lagoon, as much as they want. Okay, unlimited, completely unlimited during that time. So 24 hours or 2 days once. To reach the airport, for those people coming from European countries in low-cost flights, they need to be sure that they arrive to Marco Polo Airport, because there are 2 Venice airports. One is Treviso. Treviso, like I said, is 30 minutes by train, but Treviso Airport from Venice is 1 hour away, okay, and is a popular airport for Ryanair flights. So if you're traveling from London or from other European countries into Venice with low-cost flights, please check the airport that you're arriving to, because you may arrive to Treviso, which is 1 hour away from here. There is direct buses from the arrivals hall at Treviso Airport, and it costs around €12, including your luggage. It's direct and stops before in Mestre, in the mainland, and afterwards in Venice as the last stop. But the Venice airport is called Marco Polo. is not only a game, but it's an important Venetian out there, history-wise, and it gives the name to our airport. The airport, you can reach it by public bus, which is the bus number 5, that also works all day long, and you can buy the tickets at the arrival halls at the airport. You can also grab a second bus, which is a private line, ATVO, which costs you around €8 plus luggage, and is a direct bus into Piazzale Roma. Piazzale Roma is the main bus station of the island. The island is linked to the mainland through a bridge, and when you reach the island, you arrive to Piazzale Roma, which is the tram and bus station. Then, if you are staying, it all depends on your accommodation. The best way is to ask the accommodation people for the best way to reach them. But there are also a water way to reach the city from the airport, which is Ali Laguna airport boat. Ali Laguna is also a private company, but gives this service. It costs around €15, including luggage. It can be the shortest, about 20 minutes, if you are staying near Fonda 29. If not, it depends of your stop. Okay, and they have different lines that stop all around the city, and they also work in nighttime. Otherwise, you can reach us by private taxis. I saw some questions over there about taxis. So taxis starts around €70 for the city, or from the airport, it tends to be around 120 per boat. Okay, so it can be up to 6 people, 6 or 8, depends on the company.
All right.
So it's a little bit more from the airport, 140, 150 right now. And if you have to make that 6:30 flight in the morning, you have to take a taxi. There's no way to take a bus or Ali Laguna at that, like in that kind of, there's nothing that leaves in time for you to get to the airport in time. So that's something to think about when you're booking your flights.
Yes.
If you have a 6:20 flight, there is no Ali Laguna or no bus that gets you to the airport in time. I just did it.
Okay, the first bus is normally around 4:20 in the morning.
Yeah, and you don't make it in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
good to know.
Yeah, you can either book a private taxi, or if the weather is bad, you can go and stay in a hotel across the street from the airport. Those are your options if you have one of those terrible early morning flights.
Yes, definitely check your flight times ahead of time, so you're not scrambling at the last minute to figure out transport. Backtracking a little bit, so we know how to get around the city now, but in terms of when folks are booking accommodation for their trip, what is the best area to stay for? I guess for sightseeing, for a more authentic experience. What are some pros and cons of some of the different neighborhoods in Venice, depending on what folks are looking for? Cecilia, I'll start with you for this one.
Okay, so this is a question that came up quite frequently in the questions that we had.
Yes.
My recommendations, if you're staying only for 2 nights, don't complicate your life and stay near Rialto Bridge. If you stay near Rialto Bridge area, you are close to the main highlights, therefore St. Mark's Square, but you are not there. Of course, you're in a busy area, but still near Rialto Bridge, you can find, small lanes, and it is important to acknowledge that 2 streets over from the main streets in Venice is another different thing. So just going 1 street forward, like 1 street from the main street, is already a different vibe, a different atmosphere, is more quiet. So I will recommend everyone to stay near Rialto, and is literally walking distance for the main highlights, but Rialto is the central spot of the city, and from there you can reach the other neighborhoods, even a little bit farther, just at walking distance. Plus, it has the main transport hub for Vaporetto and also the Ali Laguna boats to the airport. So yeah, quite handy, near shops, near restaurants, and near the main transportation hub that we have.
Great, thank you, Cecilia. Gillian, what do you think? What area of Venice would you recommend for?
That's great. Yeah, to kind of get yourself in the middle. You know, if it's in your budget, stay on the Grand Canal. Like it really is just wonderful. Another super fun neighborhood. We've for many years stayed in Cannaregio, which is, you know, if you're, it's the most lively part of town. Venice is not a late night town. 11 o'clock, you know, they roll up the sidewalks and lock the doors, but there's a little bit of life in Cannaregio for a little bit longer. So, you know, if that's something you're looking for on your vacation, Cannaregio is very, very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone's asking in the chat, if you stay for a week and want an authentic neighborhood, what would you recommend for maybe someone who has the time to get a little bit out there and not necessarily limited to staying quite so close to the main sites? Gillian, what do you think?
Again, Cannaregio is probably, it's the best place to be a visitor, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're not super far from a lot of things. But it's still, you know, it's one of the neighborhoods that people still live in.
Yeah. And Cecilia, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say Cannaregio is a really nice area. Like Gillian was saying, it's good for nightlife until 11. We don't have like disco clubs or like late night bars. We pretty much our social life is reduced for the aperitif. Sometimes we call it aperitivo lungo, which means you take a little bit longer, perhaps you skip dinner because you're having an extra wine there. And it's all about socializing in the street and so on. So Cannaregio is really good for that. Plus, it's near the train station and also is near Fondamente Nuove to go to the islands. It's also, it has like main Vaporetto stops around the area and it's just walking distance from Rialto. So yeah, I will say Cannaregio is one of those top places to stay. Used to be my neighborhood in the past, so I have a special love for that area, but yeah. Plus, it's extremely beautiful. It's really beautiful to simply to walk it around. As I mentioned before, we have different historical parts and important sites in that area too. Someone in the chat is asking if Cannaregio is quiet. Like I mentioned, Cannaregio, like what we were saying, one street from the main street, it makes already the difference. So in Cannaregio, the most busy area is Fondamenta della Misericordia, or I forgot the name now, sorry. It will come to me. So there is one main street, Fondamenta Ormesini, sorry. Fondamenta Ormesini is the main street there, where all the main restaurants and bars are. But just one street away from there is way more quiet and nice, and yeah, nothing to worry about. There is no really loud place or in Venice. Yeah, it's busy during the day, but it already makes a difference when you're staying here to see the difference between daytime and nighttime. Is two different planets.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone in the chat is saying that you suggest Giudecca. Yeah, Giudecca is now is becoming a trendy spot to stay. The only issue about Giudecca is that you need to get the Vaporetto there because it's considered a neighborhood of Venice, but it's separate from the main island. So you need transport to reach it. That's the offside of Giudecca.
Yeah, good tip. Giudecca is wonderful, but it is a little bit tricky to get to. So definitely knowing your way
Unfortunately.
around
Mm.
the transport, I think would be useful to keep in mind. So Cecilia, you brought up the aperitivo, and so I think that is a great segue into talking about Venetian cuisine. We got a lot of questions about how do you identify authentic Venetian cuisine? What exactly are cicchetti? Where can I eat cicchetti? So I'd love to start talking about how people can have an authentic food experience when they're in Venice. Where should they go for the best local food? We'll start with you, Cecilia.
Oh, I could give you a list of places. As Lindsay knows, I that's my work. I design that, so I design food tours around the city. In Venice, one of the things that many people think of, first of all, they believe that the city is a tourist trap. Like any other tourist city, any other city around Europe that has lots of visitors, you need to be always aware of those places. So if you see a menu with 10 different languages on it and lots of photos, get out of there. If you see a restaurant that has to have people outside convincing you to come in, do you really believe a good place needs someone to convince you to come in? I would say not. So get out of there. Try to also feel the place and follow your instinct and say, this place is good or not. But we have like really a great selection of spots for dining and eating around the city. You can choose different places according to your budget, or according if it's a special occasion, or if you prefer more like a down-to-earth experience, up to you. There are several options and offers in the 6 different neighborhoods to choose from. I could give you many names, okay, but I want to acknowledge something out there. So many people think that Venice is only fish and seafood. Yeah, we are surrounded by sea, we are in a lagoon, we do have a great selection of fish and seafood, but we are in Veneto region. So just one main bridge away, you have the lovely mainland, that we have lots of good cheese, like a huge, amazing list of local cheese for you to try. Veneto is also one of the main wine producers of Italy. So yeah, we love Tuscany and we love Chianti, but really Veneto region rock for wine lovers. So if you're into wine, make sure that you check the indigenous grapes that we have from the region. Meat-wise, we are famous also for the cold cuts, for meat, because we have the mainland out there too. We have a great selection of veggies, and some of those veggies, like artichokes, are actually famous from one of the main islands outside Venice, in the Venetian lagoon, which is Sant'Erasmo. So you need to try the artichokes from Sant'Erasmo while you're here. And of course, radicchio. So there is this sort of reddish, I wouldn't call it cabbage, it's more like, yeah, radish. So radicchio is typical from the area of Treviso, okay, near the Prosecco area. Then, because we need to speak about lots of things. We speak about that food, but also many people is all about cicchetti. Now, there are 2 different things here. If you want to go for dinner, there is several places that I can tell you about. But if you want to go for cicchetti, we are talking about different things. Cicchetti is the sort of Venetian tapas, so finger food, which I recommend you to try bits and pieces of our cuisine through the cicchetti. Cicchetti normally is bread base. In some cases, it's polenta on the base with toppings. The toppings is according to the speciality of the place. Places such as Alarco in Rialto has a mix of meat and fish toppings. The most famous one that we have is bacalà mantecato, which is a cicchetti made out codfish. Then you can have, for example, Cicchetti with sorpresa nostrana, which is a sort of local salami that comes from the mainland near Venice. That is also another Cicchetti you can get. Cicchetti is something that we eat as an aperitif. So it's not like a dinner, it's never sitting down. You're supposed to stand up, having a glass of wine and something to go with the wine so you don't get drunk before dinner. Okay. The aperitivo is around 5-ish to 7, because afterwards you're supposed to go for dinner. So it's a way of socializing while having a drink and having something to eat, because perhaps you just finished work and you don't want to get drunk with the empty stomach. So it's also a great way to try a selection of food for the city. There are a lot of baccari, like we call it, these small Cicchetti venues where where the Cicchettis are served. Is, like I said, a stand-up experience, and there is no menu. The Cicchetti is all in display. So easy for you guys. If you don't feel like talking in Italian, just point at what you like and you pay by piece. And normally you pay between €2 to €3 according to the ingredients that you have on them. Okay. So no service charge or anything like that, because it's all about standing up with a glass of wine and a Cicchetti in your hand. And one thing that is really common and something that many people ask, you are allowed to have a glass of wine outside the bar in the surroundings of the venue where you just order your drink. It's not well seen you having a drink around the city. It's actually not allowed. So you shouldn't be with your beer going around the different streets, but you're allowed to drink your wine or your beer outside the venue where you order. Okay.
Yes.
In days like Saturdays or peak days, they will give you a plastic glass in many places for safety reasons, but otherwise you're allowed to go with your wine glass outside, have some Cicchetti, enjoy the sunshine, and yeah, just socialize with people. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, perfect way to spend a nice day in Venice, it sounds like. Gillian, what about you? What are your favorite local foods from Venice or the Veneto region, and what are some restaurants or baccari that you would recommend to our guests?
So I'm new to Venetian food, after all my many years in Rome. So I'm learning to love Venetian cuisine. So my drink of choice, my Venetian drink of choice, which is the easiest thing in the world to drink. It's, fizzy water and some either Prosecco or white wine with an olive or sometimes a lemon. So that's a great thing to drink, in the afternoon, or, again, if you're, you just want to keep things light. My favorite restaurants are in Castello, so if you're, kind of looking at Marco, it's from the water, it's the neighborhood to the right. My favorite restaurant is Alcovo, which is run by an American and her Venetian husband. And that's a kind of fancy night out. And it's, the most freshest, incredible seafood you're going to find. Cicchetti is the best, sometimes when you're in Italy, it's hard to, you've eaten a big breakfast in your hotel, and then, you're a little bit hungry maybe at 3:00 in the afternoon and not at lunchtime. And so Cicchetti is the perfect thing to, get a little snack, and you have you can see exactly what the price is. You see exactly what the ingredients are. You don't need to be afraid that you don't speak Italian or you don't understand. You just point to the things in the cabinet and you get this, kind of wonderful little snack.
Awesome. Yeah, it's also great for, to your point, for people who don't speak Italian, and Cecilia, you mentioned this as well. It's the best of both worlds. You get to have this very authentic local experience, but you don't have to worry about, fumbling your way through ordering in Italian. You can just point and get the best.
And not be intimidated.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're almost at time, but really quickly before we wrap up, are there any unwritten rules or etiquette of ordering Cicchetti or even just eating out in Venice in general that you would suggest that visitors keep in mind? Gillian, I'll start with you for this last one.
I see there's a question about gluten-free food. Quickly,
Yeah.
there are some places that it's if you tell people right away you have celiac, they take it very seriously. There's a couple of places in town that are approved by the Celiac Association, which is, which means they have 2 separate kitchens. So quickly that. Etiquette, you were asking about etiquette for Cicchetti?
Yes. Any unwritten rules or, things that people should know as they go in to start ordering?
Like Cecilia was saying, people do tend to stand up. All of my favorite Cicchetti places, you can sit down. Because I find it, you've been walking around all day and you're tired. So
yeah,
I prefer to sit down and eat something and have my spritz. So that's kind of my advice. Find places with a few chairs because you've been walking around and you're exhausted.
Yeah, something for everyone for sure.
Absolutely.
Cecilia, any tips that you would add for ordering Cicchetti?
No, like I said, is everything is on display. The most important thing for everyone when they're coming not only to Venice but Italy in general is to acknowledge the people working behind the counters. So more important than please and thank you afterwards is to enter a place and say a big buongiorno, buonasera, depending on the time. Or if you don't feel like, I don't know what to say, I don't know if it's morning time or evening or what, just say a big ciao, loud and clear there, just to make sure that they know that. Then you can choose to speak English because we are in one of the most visited cities in the world, so we all speak English, or at least we make ourselves understand. So don't fear there and just practice a little bit your Italian, but yeah, a big ciao, acknowledging people when coming in, and then from there, just check what is on the counter, check if there is making something new. If you go into a place that you knew that is famous for something, just ask them if they have it available for the day. People in Venice is really like up to help you out. They have also the patience to answer, and if they see you that you are interested and genuine, that you want to know, the people will thank you and they will try to help you as much as possible. So just go in the places, acknowledge the people behind the counters, check what there is on display, choose what you like, and if you're lucky and the place has some tables, you can sit down on them. You are not charged coperto in Cicchetti spots. If they are charging you coperto, then you are not in a local place. So yeah, but the thing is, you order from the counter, you get your drinks, and then you go and find a spot to sit down if they have some tables, or otherwise it's just standing up. In some venues, if they are not busy, they keep a tap open, and then they just trust you to let them know what you order when you go to pay, or if you don't want to complicate your assistance, you just pay straight away. That will be the main thing. So just don't fear, go there, and like I said, we all speak a few languages, or at least we sort of communicate and try to make ourselves
definitely
understand each other.
I think that's a great tip to end on. I think we're just about at time. Gillian, Cecilia, thank you both so much for your time. I think this has been a really helpful discussion for hopefully all of our guests. We've gotten some really great tips from you both. So thank you both again for being here tonight. Before we let everyone go, I did want to share that we have, I promised, a special discount code. So here you can scan this QR code or type in this code at checkout when you're buying one of our Venice tours, Venice 10. And this code is good from now until the end of the weekend. So if you're booking a trip to Venice and you're, all inspired and ready to go, you can check out our tours from Walks in Devour in Venice and use this code to get 10% off your booking. And of course, we would love to stay in touch with you. So we'd love to have you follow us on social media. Check out our blogs for more travel tips. We have an email newsletter that you can sign up for on our website as well. And really quickly before we go, I wanted to also just ask, what is the next destination that you'd like us to cover? So before you sign off, if you have just a couple seconds to answer our last poll. We do these webinars pretty regularly, usually every 2 weeks. And we also have a ton that we have already done, and you can see the replays on our YouTube channel as well. So it's possible that we've even covered one of your destinations. So our next webinar is going to be Florence on April 10th. And then later in April, we're also going to be hosting one for Edinburgh, Scotland. So moving away from Italy a little bit. But we do have that Florence one coming up on April 10th if you're still in the Italian spirit and maybe considering joining Florence on your trip as well. And that is it from us. Thank you so much again to our guests, Gillian and Cecilia, and thank you all for attending, for joining us today. This has been, again, such a great discussion. And keep an eye out for an email that you'll get with the link to watch the replay and the information on your discount code in there in case you missed it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.